Hey there, this is Veronica with Oh Happy Plants. I'm just gonna kick right into questions and we will get into my background in a minute here. The first question I have here is, what is the minimum humidity for houseplants? Now, the answer to this varies a lot depending on the plant species. So there are certain plants that really want some more humidity, and you can accomplish that with humidifiers, with pebble trays, simply with soil that has some kind of medium in it. I actually make a soil that does this. Some kind of medium that releases moisture to the air as well as to the plant. As long as the moisture stays really evenly spread through the soil, it will continue releasing into the air. You can do that by using leca. You can do that by leaving pans of water around. That's the idea of a pebble tray. The greater the surface area, the more I can't talk. The more evaporation occurs, and the more humid the environment is going to be. But before we get super complex, let me take you over here, and I'm going to show you my plant corner, one of many plant corners. So it's kind of a jungle back behind my chair over here. And the reason I have it that way is because if you cluster plants together, the fact that they are all breathing over there, they're losing moisture through their stomata. I'm gonna have to readjust my camera here. Sorry. They are constantly losing moisture through the pores on the backs of their leaves. And that alone, by clustering them together, you're raising the humidity in that area of the house. So that spot actually gets the hottest because I have a big south-facing window right there. And big is relative. This house has really tiny windows, unfortunately. So like the plant lady doesn't have very good light, but that's why I have grow lights everywhere. But anyway, that window gets the hottest and would be the least humid spot in the house, except I have so many plants over there, so all of those plants together are forcing moisture into the air. So anytime I water, the humidity in my house goes up to like 80%, like just automatically after watering day. And so that's the number one way you can increase humidity, is just get more plants. You won't have to run humidifiers. I sound crazy right now, but it's okay. Because welcome to crazy plant lady life. Like I can count like probably 80 plants from where I'm sitting right now, and my house is 728 square feet. So if you're scared of having too many plants and coming off like a crazy cat lady or something like that, release the fear and lean into it, because it will increase the humidity and your plants might like it more. Your skin is gonna love it, I can tell you that. But anyway, minimum humidity for plants. So let me give you a little of my background. I used to work in office buildings and lobbies taking care of the plants. The ones where you walk into a place and you're like, oh my God, these can't be real. And then you see a yellow leaf and you're like, why would they put like a fully yellow dead leaf on a live or on a fake plant? And you realize it's actually planted in dirt, and then you see somebody come by and take care of it, and you're like, what the hell? How does this survive here? You know, maybe the light isn't right, or maybe it's, you know, maybe it's just like a high traffic area and you know that somebody's dumping their coffee in that all the time, because it happens. One trick is that people replace the plants a lot in those jobs, and that's how they keep them looking really nice. But there are so many other tricks to keep those plants looking super nice, and there are tricks to just keep everything going smoothly and easily. But number one that I learned in that job is that humidity really doesn't matter for most plants. A lot of folks are going to tell you that humidity is the reason plants get little brown tips, and I can tell you that typically that is underwatering. If you let it go a little too long between your watering, it's a little too dry for too many days, it's gonna get brown tips, it's gonna start firing leaves, which is when they lose the lowest leaves. The oldest ones will go brown and crispy. It's because the plant is using that as a water bottle and trying to pull that moisture back in so it can keep the growth tip alive. And so the humidity thing, because all of these office buildings are like 30% humidity, 40% humidity, the plants do fine. Like even Marantas and Calatheas, they just don't care. And sorry, I have somebody texting me about rooting Hoyas. That's lovely. I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. So humidity minimum varies. There are some plants that people claim cannot be grown without some kind of humidity dome or a terrarium sort of enclosure. And I don't really fuss with my plants, and so the plants that I keep, and I have kept calatheas. I have an alocasia poly that's doing great without extra humidity, aside from the spider mites that it came with, because they always do. Usually what I have found is if you cluster your plant with a bunch of other plants, it will do okay with no additional humidity. Now, to get massive growth like you see in giant, like jungly greenhouses and conservatories, you probably want to increase your humidity, but that massive growth is just as much about free access to water in well-draining soil. So what that means is that these plants are usually planted in ground in these conservatories, and water is draining through there, so the soil never really goes fully dry. But it also never sits in water. It's very like airy and fluffy soil. And so it has free access to water. Whenever it wants water, it can get some. And then also, the whole thing is glass. And that's the biggest piece of these conservatories. We don't have the light that they have. And so if you want to grow giant, massive plants that are just like insanely huge and amazing, you probably want to build yourself a greenhouse. And it would need to be temperature controlled because growth and heat go hand in hand. It would need to have, you know, the flaps at the top that open so that it doesn't cook them because you never want that. And that's really going to be a key there. But if you are just growing houseplants, I wouldn't worry too much unless you're going into those super specialized plants that really need some more humidity. Otherwise, humidity is mostly a buzzword. So just get a ton of plants, put them all in your house, and be happy. They're going to thrive. I'm going to go ahead and split these up so you guys can look for another video soon. Thanks.